Hello, I'm Ashish Jain, a Group Product Manager in the Security Service Edge team. With me, I have Abdi.
Hello everyone, I'm Abdi Saidabadi, Senior Product Marketing Manager on the same team.
Today, we will give you all the details of our Entra Private Access solution and walk you through a few demo scenarios. But first, let's give you a quick overview of key challenges with traditional network security approaches, the need for a new approach, and an overview of our identity-centric security service edge.
Thank you, Ashish. While the advance of hybrid work model and cloud computing has allowed you to scale and gain efficiencies at lightning speed, the shift to the new working model have also been a magnet for cyber criminals. As IT, perhaps you lost control over what your employees are accessing on the internet while working remotely. With the remote access over VPN, because of excessive access, threats can potentially move laterally across your network and branch offices. All it takes is one compromised user or one compromised device to bring down things or exfiltrate your highly sensitive data. Also, as more people join your organization, it becomes harder for your IT teams to manage capacity for your on-premises infrastructure. Neither identity nor network security controls can protect all your access scenarios, highlighting the need for you to adopt a holistic strategy to contract evolving threats and protect your critical assets, no matter where the users and resources are located. Now let's take a look at our SSE solution and see how we are addressing these challenges. With a unified approach across identity and network access security, we are transforming the way you can secure access to your apps and resources. In July, we announced the general availability of Microsoft Security Services solution and its two core products, Microsoft Entra Private Access and Microsoft Entra Internet Access. Before we go over our private access solution in more detail, let's touch on a few unique elements and key differentiations of Microsoft SSE solution. With our SSE solution, we are not only bringing identity and network access together, but we are also converging them as access controls within conditional access as our policy engine for zero trust. We ensure that the end user must prove their identity and posture as well as for their device before they get connected to the network. This convergence does not just correspond to the authentication at the time of access, but also provides session security with continuous access evaluation. If the security posture were to change while the user was accessing the resource, we can revoke the access or trigger reauthentication as needed by the access policy. Microsoft Private Network is one of the largest global WAN networks on the earth you see today. We have more than 60 data centers and more than 190 edge locations. These locations are where you connect your global network with the outside world. This is where we also pair with other connectivity providers to bring services and applications closer to the end user. Our SSE solution, which leverages our global private WAN network, helps you eliminate inefficiencies and unnecessary network hops. Another key differentiator is where you can use our SSE solution side by side with other network security solutions. For example, you can use another network security vendor for internet access, but use us for private access, or vice versa. With built-in integrations with other network security solutions, we have made it so easy for you to enable these coexistence scenarios. In summary, our SSE solution helps you ensure robust protection by enforcing unified and adaptive access controls, streamline your network security, and reduce the risk associated with threats. And finally, enhance productivity for your hybrid workforce with fast and consistent access through our secure network edge that is globally distributed. Now I will hand over to Ashish for a closer look at private access.
Thank you, Abdi. Now, let's take a look at why we need to replace VPNs with ZTNA. As we discussed earlier, legacy VPNs and conventional security models do not scale to modern demands. VPNs typically grant excessive access to the entire network by making the remote user's device part of your network. With Microsoft Entra Private Access, you can easily move to an identity-centric ZTNA solution and modernize access to all your private applications. Now, let's see how private access can help you do that. You can configure unified identity and network access controls with conditional access in Microsoft Entra and then connect any end user to any application or private resource and internal IT systems through private access. Today, we will show you how private access can help you secure access to all private apps and resources for your users anywhere. To understand this better, let's take a look at the private access architecture. Our SSE client is called Global Secure Access Client. This client allows you to control network traffic at the end user's device, giving organizations the ability to route specific traffic through private access. Routing traffic in this method allows for granular controls like device compliance or multi-factor authentication to be required for accessing private resources. Let's see how the client works. We have a client for all major endpoint platforms: Windows, Mac OS, Apple iPhones or iPads, and Android phones and tablets. Our goal is to ensure that you don't have to install yet another agent from Microsoft. We will make our client inbox in Windows operating system, have already integrated into Defender app on mobile, and for Mac OS, we will integrate into the Defender down the road. The client uses a lightweight Layer 7 gRPC tunnel based on HTTP2. This lets us snap granular network security and conditional access policies on every network flow from the end user's device, enabling you to segment the access to avoid excessive access. Multiple tunnels from our client to the service adds resiliency and redundancy to the connectivity. That is, if one tunnel fails or if an edge instance is running hot, we can fall back seamlessly to the next closest edge instance. Private access provides secure access to any private app or resource like RDP, SSH, SMB file shares, and even corporate printing, all without a VPN to reduce your attack surface and mitigate lateral threat movement. Private access enables you to easily segment access to enable least privileged access to your private apps by creating enterprise applications in Entra, even for your non-web applications. And the same familiar conditional access policies you already use today, you can now extend them to all private applications, including non-web resources, now with session security using continuous access evaluation. Best part is that you don't even need to modify your existing applications. We've built seamless integration with domain controllers to enforce MFA to private on-prem apps, not only for remote access scenarios, but also for local-to-local scenarios, while providing seamless single sign-on experiences with Kerberos using cloud identity. Intelligent local access enables users with optimized access when they are back on premises without needing to hairpin the traffic to the cloud and back. With private access, you can now bring in conditional access in front of any private applications, be it RDP or be it SSH or any other private application. Let's take a quick look of how you can do that for private SSH applications. In this demo, we will use Secure Shell to connect to a Linux server. Before I get access, conditional access policies ensure that the device security posture is verified and the user identity is verified with multi-factor authentication. As I try to access the server using SSH, I am prompted for multi-factor authentication. I use my phone to complete the MFA using the Authenticator app on my phone. And after completing the MFA, you will notice that I am now signed into the Linux server using SSH. Before we get into other scenarios, let's see how you can accelerate your ZTNA journey with private access. For enabling customers coming from the VPN world to quickly get started with our ZTNA solution, you can easily bring identity-centric controls through conditional access. We have built quick access using which you can get started with a very simple configuration. An IP address range is all we need to get you started. You can expand it over time based on your adoption and deployment plan. We then enable you to discover applications and recommend onboarding them into Entra as enterprise apps so that you can then segment these applications to remove excessive access. Once you segment access, you can group these apps into buckets of high, medium, and low business impact applications. This enables you to then snap your conditional access policies to groups of apps as opposed to each individual app. Let's take a look at these steps in more detail. As I mentioned earlier, you can easily get started with quick access policy. You can configure app segments, which can be FQDNs, wildcard FQDNs, IP addresses, or IP address ranges, or a set of these. You can also set up ports and protocols for each of these application segments. We are also working to add the capability that will allow you to add on-premises SPNs, that is, service principal names for on-premises private applications. As a next step, you can start discovering what resources and apps are being accessed by your users respectively. We provide recommendations to enable you to onboard these as distinct enterprise applications. You can easily select the discovered app segments and onboard them to existing or new applications. With private access, you can enable segmented access to specific applications instead of granting access to the entire network as traditional VPNs do. You can define granular access policies for each application or a group of applications. In addition to segmenting access based on user and device identity, soon you will also be able to segment access even using process identity. Now let's see in action how you can easily enable RDP and SMB file share access with private access. You will see that even without direct network level connectivity, we can still access private applications after authenticating successfully. Now let's connect to the RDP server. But let's first confirm there is no VPN connected. Now let's try to see whether we have network level access to the private app. As expected, I cannot reach the server using ping as I do not have network level access. Now let's bring up the remote desktop native client and try to connect to the RDP to the private server. You will notice the moment I connect, the agent intercepts the traffic and enforces conditional access auth using MFA, which validates both the device identity as well as the user identity, getting the access token from Microsoft Entra ID and validating it with the service. Since everything checked out fine, Microsoft ID enables me the connection to the right RDP server, as you can see. With edge accelerated private DNS support, you can now add domain suffixes to your access policy to access IP-based application segments across private apps using FQDNs or short names. It is very easy to configure private DNS with private access. All you need is to click a simple checkbox to enable it and give us your domain suffixes. Private access will seamlessly use your existing on-premises DNS infrastructure used by the private access connectors. With Entra Private Access, we can also enable you to add MFA to on-premises applications when accessed from on-premises, that is, local to local access. For those applications that use your on-premises domain controllers for auth, private access enables you to block direct connection to domain controllers from an on-premises endpoint. This is ensured by an agent at the endpoint, that is Global Secure Access Client, and a new agent which we are building for the domain controllers. This new agent on the domain controller will become part of the Defender for servers, so you won't have to deploy yet another agent from Microsoft. This agent will ensure that domain controller issues Kerberos tickets only when accessed through private access, thereby enforcing the endpoint and user security posture with MFA. Let's look at a quick demo. In this demo, you see three windows. The top window is the Global Secure Access Client, Advanced Diagnostics, that will show you the traffic going through private access. The bottom right window, that is the command prompt, we will use to show that the device is only Entra ID joined or AAD joined. And the bottom left window, that is the file explorer, we will use to access the actual SMB resource. Now, let's check the device status using the dsred cmd command. You will notice that the device is only Entra ID joined and is not joined to any on-premises domain. Next, let's see if any Kerberos tickets are cached. You will notice there aren't any. Now let's access the resource. As soon as I access the resource, you will notice that there is DNS traffic discovering the domain controller, going through private access, and conditional access is triggered to authenticate the user. As I complete the authentication, you will notice that the Kerberos traffic is now able to reach the domain controller using private access and does single sign-on for Kerberos. As a result, access to the SMB resource is granted and I can access the file share. Now, let's look at the Kerberos tickets on the device. You will see that I use the cloud identity to get the needed Kerberos tickets and access the resource, all using a seamless single sign-on experience. Now, let's take a look at the demo of an end user experience. In this demo, we will show you how you can access your critical resources like RDP just in time. This time, we will demo the end user experience on an iPad using Entra Privileged Identity Management to access RDP, a key benefit of deep integrations of our SSE capabilities into our identity platform. So here you see that we have the remote desktop app. We are going to launch the app and access the private server with IP address 10.0.0.6. Then the Defender app prompts you to authenticate. As I use the Authenticator app to authenticate, since I'm accessing a highly privileged resource, conditional access is rightfully declining because I do not have the privileged access to this private application just yet. Let's proceed to elevate my identity for privileged access. For the same, I will go to the Entra Identity Management in Entra. Elevate to an eligible role assignment, which then enables just-in-time access to connect to the remote desktop resource. This user role elevation can also be done as an approval workflow and for a specific duration, after which I will lose access. As my identity is now elevated, let's go ahead and access the remote desktop again. This time, you will notice that after multi-factor authentication, I am now able to access the RDP resource and log into the privileged server. In addition to downloading from Microsoft Entra Admin Center, Private Network Connector is now also available on Azure Marketplace, allowing users to easily deploy a virtual machine with a pre-installed private access connector. The Marketplace offering automates and simplifies not only the deployment, but also the registration of the private access connector while enhancing the overall admin experience. In a post-pandemic world, employees need a consistent security posture, whether they are accessing private applications remotely or on premises. Intelligent local access capability, which is on our roadmap, will provide seamless zero trust network access for users anywhere when they are local within the corporate network and when they are connecting remotely from anywhere beyond corporate network boundaries. When the user is back on premises, traffic to on-premises apps will end up hairpinning to the managed service in the cloud and back to on-premises. It works, but it's less than optimal. With intelligent local access, you don't need to deploy additional on-premises infrastructure. Our endpoint agent acts like a smart SD-WAN device. It automatically coordinates with the connector on-premises and a service in the cloud to conclude that it is actually on-premises. If you have enabled local access, then the initial signaling of the traffic, such as authenticating the user, the device, and the authorization, still happens with Microsoft Entra ID in the cloud, but the actual traffic does a local breakout directly to your private app, as shown in blue, making your access to the app faster and containing the application traffic within your network. Even when the traffic does a local breakout, the cloud policies still govern the network flow and thus can revoke access using continuous access evaluation in case of anomalous events if detected. Down the road, local access will become even more seamless. We will evolve our connector agent to become an on-premises virtual appliance. In other words, an on-premises service edge that will bring traffic inspection capabilities to local access. And now, back to Abdi.
Thank you, Ashish. In summary, Microsoft Private Access provides several capabilities helping you accelerate your zero trust journey. It helps you secure access to any private app and resource without a VPN. This will help you reduce your attack surface, mitigate lateral threat movement, while reducing your IT operational complexities. It helps you reduce risks by enabling granular segmented access, enforcing adaptive conditional access controls, and enabling single sign-on across all your private apps and resources. You can enforce multi-factor authentication on all your private apps, on-premises, or on any cloud. And finally, it delivers fast and consistent access for all your users at a global scale. To learn more and sign up for product trials, please visit these resources and reach out to your Microsoft account team. Thank you for joining us today.
And we look forward for you to trying out our product and sharing your precious feedback with us. Thank you.